Here's your wrestling news for May 25th, 2023, and we're kicking off with AEW, as going into this week's show, the attention of fans wasn't really on the matches, but on the announcement by Tony Khan. It had been confirmed that Khan would be announcing the location of the premiere episode of AEW Collision, and fans waited with bated breath to see where the new show would be happening. During Dynamite, Khan made his announcement, and it is now confirmed that AEW Collision will premiere on June 17th from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. This popped the Las Vegas crowd in a major way, and there was a smattering of CM Punk chants as this location is being taken as confirmation of his return. In the days leading up to Dynamite, it had been reported that if AEW couldn't come to an agreement with Punk, then Collision would be moved to Daly's place in Jacksonville, Florida, in an attempt to avoid a pro-Punk crowd. The fact that Collision will premiere in Punk's hometown is being seen as a sign that the two sides have worked out their differences and things are back on track for his return next month. Punk's return has been a long process for both the former world champion and AEW, and are you excited to see Punk make his return to programming? Sound off in the comments. It was just a few days ago that Punk and AEW were at odds once again, this time over whether Ace Steel should be allowed to be at the upcoming tapings for Collision. We don't know whether Steel will be allowed at the shows or not, but fans can expect Punk as part of the broadcast. As PW Insider were the first to report, they've received confirmation from sources in AEW that Punk will be appearing on the show in June, but his return is not expected to be announced in advance. It was also said that some reports about issues between the two sides have been overblown, and that Punk and AEW have been speaking regularly since his name was pulled from the initial Collision announcement. As for what Punk will do upon his return, it's been reported that Samoa Joe will be his first opponent back, but we're not sure if this will just be a one-off match or a fully fledged feud. There have also been reports that Punk will feud with Chris Jericho, playing off the real animosity between the two, and whatever comes next, CM Punk will be a part of it, and on AEW TV again. AEW has gone to great lengths to cater to Punk's return, including making the former world champion the unquestionable top name on Collision. The roster for the show has been chosen with Punk in mind, with the names chosen being people willing to work with Punk, but what do those in Tony Khan's competition make to all this? When Ringside News reached out to a tenured member of WWE, that person wasn't too surprised and said that Punk has been toxic for a very long time. In fact, everyone who Ringside News spoke to earlier used the word toxic or some variation of the same sentiment, and some suggested that Khan would be just as happy if he never had to work with Punk again. Once Punk is back on TV, the real test will be whether he can keep things professional and avoid a situation like we saw at All Out. And right now, those in WWE are just happy that the self-proclaimed best in the world is somebody else's problem. More from AEW now, as this week's show wasn't all about Collision, but also served as the go-home show ahead of Double or Nothing this weekend. That show will see Adam Cole face Chris Jericho in an unsanctioned match, and this week's Dynamite saw the former NXT champion receive some serious backup. During the contract signing, which seems odd for a match that is unsanctioned and technically will never happen, Cole spoke about being outnumbered, as Jericho has the entire Jericho Appreciation Society behind him. Then Cole brought out some backup of his own, that being the wrestling legend Sabu, and the crowd in Las Vegas were thrilled to see the Extreme Star. Given how Cole promoted Sabu as his backup, it seems like the veteran will also be at Double or Nothing, and though he didn't get physical this week, expect that to change at the pay-per-view. Sabu has been dealing with medical issues in recent years and was hospitalized last month after taking ill during a convention, but he's now back to health and will be part of Double or Nothing. This weekend, WWE will host Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, the 9th event in WWE's lengthy deal with the Middle Eastern Kingdom. As expected, WWE are sending a stacked card and some stars to do PR in the country, but one notable name has now been pulled from the festivities. It turns out that initially WWE planned for Alexa Bliss to make the trip to Jeddah, but she has since been pulled from the PR tour for an unspecified reason. Bliss being pulled comes at an interesting point in her career, as it's been close to 4 months since fans last saw the goddess on TV. It's been reported that Bliss has been off of TV due to Bray Wyatt also being off of TV, as WWE still plans on doing an angle between the two once Bray is fully healed. With Wyatt being recently removed from WWE's internal roster, there's a lot of questions about his future in WWE, and whenever Bliss appears next, it won't be part of the PR tour this week. Earlier this month, Trinity made her debut for Impact Wrestling, close to a year after walking out of the May 16th episode of Raw. Now Trinity's days as Naomi and being a WWE superstar are behind her, but that doesn't mean she can't work with some names from her old employer. While speaking to Darren Paltrowitz, the former SmackDown Women's Champion said that she has big plans for a new musical project with WWE talent, both past and present. She explained, "I've been talking to Samantha Irvin about working on music with her, and JoJo Offerman. We recorded songs together like years ago that we just kinda got away from because our lifestyle and work and family, so we really want to, at some point, get back together now that life is in a whole different space to get back on these passion projects." Samantha Irvin and her voice have been impressing fans as Raw's ring announcer, while JoJo Offerman first appeared for WWE in 2013 as part of Total Divas. In 2014, Trinity released her debut track, Dance All Night, which had its own music video shared on WWE's YouTube channel, and we'll have to see what comes from this trio of performers. When AEW Dynamite launched, Tony Khan made the bold prediction that the show would one day go up against Monday Night Raw and would be able to crush WWE's flagship show in the ratings. While Dynamite did win the Wednesday Night Wars with NXT, the show has yet to face off with Monday Night Raw, but Hulk Hogan, of all people, believes that could happen. Speaking to the MMA Hour, Hogan said that he watches AEW content on the regular and is confident that the programming can be competition to WWE. He said, "I was talking to somebody and I equated it to NASCAR drivers. You need seat time. You need to spend time in that seat until you start winning championships. It's almost like AEW is on track, like the little engine that could. I just think they need more seat time. They just need to be around a little longer to be really competitive to where they could go head-to-head on Monday nights or something like that, but they're moving forward quite quickly. They're doing a great job over there." It's interesting for Hogan to be praising AEW given that in 2020, Tony Khan banned the Hulkster for life from AEW due to his controversial comments and would later ban Hulk's ex-wife Linda. Despite this ban, Hogan remains a fan of what AEW is doing, and while the ratings have dipped over the past year, the Hulkster is confident that this little engine that could is on the right track. But what do you think to Hogan's comments? Do you believe AEW Dynamite could one day go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw and win? Share your views in the comments. At the recent New Japan Resurgence event, Willow Nightingale made history by becoming the first NJPW Strong Women's Champion, winning a one-night tournament featuring 4 promotions. AEW's Nightingale bested Stardom's Momo Kogo, CMLL's Stephanie Vacker, and New Japan's Mercedes Mone, and the former Sasha Banks was on Dynamite this week. While she wasn't there in person, Mone was featured prominently during the show in a recap video that showed Nightingale's victory at Resurgence. It has been rumored for some time that Mercedes Mone could be heading to AEW, and while she did sign a new deal with Bushiroad, the parent company of New Japan and Stardom recently, it's unclear how long that new deal is. If AEW does have their sights set on Mone, then it'll have to wait, as right now, the former IWGP Women's Champion is dealing with a suspected broken ankle that she suffered during the tournament finals with Nightingale. Mone had been scheduled to win the Strong Women's title before the injury, but an audible was called mid-match due to her injury, and if she gets a rematch with Nightingale, it could happen in an AEW ring. And we're ending today with AEW Dynamite as Chris Jericho was far from pleased with the fans after the show went off the air. After Dynamite wrapped up, AEW prepared to tape Rampage, and Jericho grabbed the mic and berated the fans. Not only did Jericho chastise the Las Vegas crowd for cheering Sabu, but he also announced that from now on, Judas is banned from Sin City. The crowd cheered, and a few laughed, but none of them thought he was being serious, and we very much doubt this rule will be held up the next time AEW is in Las Vegas. Jericho is playing the role of heel to perfection, as the Las Vegas crowd experienced this week, and the former world champion was something extra special for the fans after Dynamite went off the air.